Good evening. It is wonderful to see you all here tonight. It is a great occasion. We are delighted to have you all come out to the Frederick Meijer lecture for fall 2011. My name is Jeff Chamberlain. I am director of the Frederick Meijer Honors College, and it is a distinct privilege and pleasure and joy to direct this unit, this college at Grand Valley State. It is a privilege because with the generous funding of the Frederick Meijer Foundation, we're able to support amazing students in extraordinary ways, with scholarships, with assistance in applying for and receiving nationally competitive fellowships, and with enriching co-curricular activities like this lecture. Many of the gifts of the Meijer Foundation enrich the entire life of the university, and this event tonight is no exception to that rule. This is the second year for the Frederick Meijer Lecture, and there are 2 lectures each year, so this is actually the third of the lectures in the series. The lectureship was created to do something crucial in our day and age, and that is to focus on the importance of a liberal education, and especially an interdisciplinary liberal arts education for a successful career. Leadership and innovation are a significant part of that too, and how liberal education connects and helps support the creativity and the amazing capabilities that come out of the kinds of things that students are learning in all of their different disciplines. You can see the ways that the lecturers in the past have actually connected these things. If you go to our website, they're all shown there, and there's some video from past lectures. And if you're interested and want to see this lecture again, it will be up probably in a couple of months. I don't think we'll get it up too soon, but we'll be delighted to get it up as soon as we can. And we invite you also to come to our winter lecture, which will feature Barbara Pierce Bush, the daughter of the former president, but also an entrepreneur in her own right. She has founded an NGO called Global Health Corps, which actually employs people from a variety of different backgrounds, not just people in the health professions, but people from the humanities, people from the social sciences, people in all sorts of ways. That'll be in February, the end of February, and we welcome you to come to that one as well. That one will be held in our Allendale campus. But again, we are just incredibly grateful to the Meijer Foundation for sponsoring this lectureship and all of the other things that they have provided to make this possible. Now, one brief note, I would encourage you or remind you, please, if you have not yet already, to take out your smartphones or your cell phones and put them on a silent mode so that we are not interrupted during the course of the lecture. We have been excited about this particular evening and this particular lecture since we were first in touch with Bonnie, since she is such an ideal person to talk about innovation and significant change for the good. We're also very pleased to partner with the Kirchhoff College of Nursing to bring her here. Bonnie has been involved all day long. She's already had a long day at the Kirchhoff College of Nursing, meeting with students and faculty and staff, and the reports are just wonderful about the energy she brought and the ideas that she has presented there as well. So I would like to invite the Dean of the Kirchhoff College of Nursing, Cynthia McCurran, to come and introduce Bonnie to you.
Good evening. I welcome each of you here this evening, and I'm so delighted that we have such a great turnout because this is going to indeed be a wonderful evening for you to hear this very special speaker. And it is my special honor to be able to introduce the Fall 2011 Frederick Meijer Lecture Series speaker, Bonnie Wesorick. The title of her presentation is Leading Healthcare Transformation for Those Who Give and Receive Care. Her formal education began as a diploma graduate from the Holy Cross School of Nursing in South Bend, Indiana. She completed a baccalaureate degree at Aquinas College here in Grand Rapids and her Master's of Science in Nursing as an adult clinical nurse specialist at Wayne State University. Her professional career has evolved from staff nurse at Butterworth Hospital to an instructor for the Butterworth Hospital School of Nursing to positions with Grand Valley's Kirchhoff College of Nursing as clinical faculty and research associate. The seed for her passion for the synthesis of knowledge and practice was planted at that point in her career and has flourished ever since. She returned to Butterworth Hospital as the Director of Professional Nursing Practice. Her work there evolved into what has become her legacy. Bonnie Wesorick is the founder and chairman emeritus of the Clinical Practice Model Resource Center and founder of the center's international consortium. Her mission is to co-create and sustain the best practices and the best places to receive care. Over the last 2 decades, she has partnered with thousands of interdisciplinary practitioners from rural, community, and university settings, working to create healthy, healing practice cultures and a patient-centered integrated healthcare system. Her leadership in the development and implementation of an interdisciplinary professional practice framework with evidence-based tools and resources has revolutionized practice and automation. The outcome is real-time clinical decision support to serve those that give and receive care with sustainable positive patient outcomes. For this incredible work and her many contributions, she has received numerous awards. To note, most recently, she was named a Fellow of the American Academy of Nursing, and on October 31st of this year, she received the Edith Moore Copeland Award for Excellence in Creativity from the Honor Society for Nursing, Sigma Theta Tau International. She has shared her expertise and learned from the expertise of others from over 1,000 diverse clinical settings and professional organizations, both within and beyond the healthcare arena. She is an internationally known speaker, storyteller, author, and healthcare futurist who has written and produced many books, articles, videos, CDs, and DVDs. She is often a keynote or featured speaker at local, state, national, and international conferences. On our company's website, it states, Bonnie connects with the hearts and minds of others and brings a sense of direction and hope in the midst of chaos of today's healthcare arena. And this is the connection that Bonnie has to me. She connects to my vision, my thinking, and my heart. New to West Michigan in 2008, I can say without a doubt, I am truly blessed to be here and to have this opportunity to know and work with her. Joining with Grand Valley and the College of Nursing, we have launched a campaign for the Bonnie Wesorick Center for Healthcare Transformation, and we look forward to the opportunity to advance her legacy and her work and her vision for patient-centered care through interprofessional collaboration and practice. The goal of the Frederick Meijer Lecture Series is to provide presentations and exemplars that focus on leadership, innovation, and entrepreneurship. There could not be a better speaker to fit this goal. Please join me in welcoming Bonnie Wesorick.
Thank you. Thank you. You need to know that is a very humbling experience being introduced like that. And then on the other side, here's what I'm thinking. Don't raise your expectations so high that they're disappointed in the end, you know? Thanks so much for all of you for leaving your homes and coming here tonight. I am very thankful for that. But before we go any further, I do want to thank Fred Meijer and the Frederick Meijer Foundation for inviting me. And also, would all of you raise, I'm going to have a lot of raising of your hands, so get ready. Would all of you who worked, you know, we've got Jeff, and we've got, you know, you, Cynthia, and we've got Nora, and Wendy, and I forgot your name, Bridget, Bernadine. I met her earlier. But there are many others, and they say you should never mention names, but could you raise your hands? Because we wouldn't be here tonight with all this work that went on to make it here. So raise your hands, and don't, where are you all? They're probably out there working. Oh, there they are. There, see? So thank you for all the work to make this happen. Now, I want you to know that if you could put the head, oh, I suppose I could do this myself, right? There you go. Oops. This is the title, right? And I want you to know that I'm a bit nervous. But I want you to know why. I have spoken, seriously, to thousands and thousands of people about this subject. But this is the most important group I have ever been with, unquestionably. And you might say, well, why? Well, number one, many of the people I love the most in my life are sitting in this room. So I'm going to have them raise their hands. My husband, Dave. Raise your hand, Dave. They just hate this. Okay, yeah. And hold your clap because there's many more. All right, now, over here, Tyler, raise your hand. That is my son, Tyler. And Maddie's right next to him. Matt, raise your hand. There's Matt. And his wife, Nikki. Our third son is not here because as we speak, he is caring for patients at the University of Michigan. However, he sent some pretty important people. Fran, his wife. Fran, would you raise your hand? And my grandson, Owen. Owen, raise your hand. Okay. And by the way, the reason I'm nervous, they've never heard me speak, so I'm thinking, oh, please, let it not disappoint them or embarrass them, right? And also my family. My oldest sister, Patty. Pat, where are you? Raise your hand. My youngest sister, I do know her. I do know Kathy, my 13-year young sister. And my brother, Maury. We only have one boy in our family. My brother, Maury, raise your hand. And his wife, Judy, is right there. You should have been there at the dinner. It was wild, a little bit wild. And so you get to know a little bit more about me as a speaker when you meet my family. And my nieces are here and my nephews are here. Raise your hands so they'll know that you're here with us. And my brother-in-law, Dale, and another person that's here. My aunt and uncle, Helen and Claire, raise your hands. And by the way, this topic tonight is about health, right? It's related to health. You might want to, Claire, Uncle Claire, raise your hand. You might want to talk to him. We have celebrated his 90th birthday, and we are really good at partying. And the reason I wanted you to see him afterwards, he loves this. You might want to check with him, and he'll give you some tips on how to get to 90 and enjoy every day of your life. And he'll tell you need to walk 3 to 5 miles a day. And he'll also tell you I don't vouch for everything he says, but a few beers really make a difference. But you need to know, I was just with a Harvard researcher, and they have demonstrated that all of us should have some alcohol every day. So you've just been validated for that. So it's really good to have your family, and so many friends that I haven't seen in a while are in this room. Another reason this is the most important group I've spoken with is because this is my community. This is my home. This is where I was raised. And there are people out here, if they had not had the courage to lead this work, I wouldn't be here tonight. This work that is influencing thousands of healthcare providers and millions of patients every day began in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I'd like to acknowledge a few of them that are here in that beginning phase. Jean Rohde, raise your hand, Jean. Where's Jean? Right over there, there's Jean. And right next to her, Carol Glass. I mean, we're talking about courage. And by the way, that is not an exaggeration. You can't imagine how hard the work is to transform, not change, transform healthcare. And you have to be courageous. You have to stand with some folks you've been working with all your life and say, we have to do it differently. And there's a new way. And they're going, get out of my life, I'm busier than the Dickens, and And so very, very courageous people. Next to her is Marty. Is Marla here? Marty, raise your hand. Marla. And of course, all my colleagues from the CPM Resource Center over here. Okay, Michelle, raise your hand. Diane, these are my legacy people. They're leading this work in a way that will far succeed what we have known. Carol Robinson, where are you, Carol? Carol's right over there. Connie McAllister, raise your hand. I'm sure I missed somebody. I have no doubt I have. Kathy Weingard, my first partner in this work. Kathy, raise your hand. I'm going to need help, so keep that up. I really do value that kind of work. Would everybody from the CPM Resource Center, who I didn't mention today, would you raise your hand? Because every single day, you can raise your hand again. Every single day, Connie, right over here, Connie, are out really engaging in this work. So if it wasn't happening, we would have no reason to be here and you wouldn't see. Where's Donna? There's another one. See, so I'll mention them later after I get less nervous and remember what I should have said, okay? In addition to those folks, one of the things that I have learned is that to lead transformation, you got to constantly know you can't know it all, and you have to constantly learn. So I really wanted to acknowledge someone who really markedly influenced me. And Sister Alice, where are you? Sister Alice, right there. She was my professor at Aquinas. And the reason I want you to know is that I went back to school because I knew I didn't know near enough to do this work. And I was on a deadline in order to get into the master's program, and I needed a flexible place. And before it was popular, before independent study and flexibility for the returning student with children, she was there. Now, it's true, I know more about parasites than most of you. But in addition to that, she taught me about the heart. And so I think all of us have mentors, right? And teachers and that come along the line, and we're always going to be learning, and that's why I'm so glad that you're here tonight. I've also realized that none of this work is accomplished unless we have strong partnerships. And I was sort of blessed early, and when I first came to Grand Rapids, there was a young resident. Everybody talked about him. He was really tough. He would come up and ask you questions like, oh, you think, what does he do, lay awake at nights thinking of hard questions to ask? And so we became really good partners. And that young resident was going to be in internal medicine. And I want you to raise your hand. Dr. Gordon Van Otteren. It's been 47 years we began our journey together. And because we must have stronger partnerships, not only with nurses and physicians, but all of us across all disciplines and in all shifts. And what we did that was very unique is he would put me on the spot with hard questions, and I would give him some answers, and some of them were pretty good. And he learned from me, and I learned from him, but we had only one thing in mind, that we needed to help each other learn so we could better care for the people we're privileged to serve. That's what it was always about. And that's the kind of partners that we need. I'd also like to honor some of the people, or have you recognize, we have been looking at how we are going to continue this work. And so that's where the center is going to be coming in. And so we've been doing dialogue sessions, and some of the people in this room gave up their evenings, and we went to Dave McCurran's house and different places. We went to Aquinas, and they would give up time for their in their lunchtime during the day. And the reason we had these dialogue sessions is we said, what do we need to know to make this the healthiest community possible? And by the way, we have much work to do, and they brought their truths and really gave us some insights as to what we're going to need to focus on. So for those that participated at any time in our dialogue, would you raise your hand and notice who the people in this room that have engaged and really tried to give us their advice, and now we have to honor it by making it happen, to have this be the best place anybody could want to live. And the next group I want to have raise their hand. Would the students raise your hand? Students, please raise your hand. Look around. Wow. And I love having students. And the reason is they have a wisdom the rest of us don't have. And they are our future. They bring all the hope we need. And today, I had the most wonderful privilege of being with students. And you would have been in awe of them and what they said and how they're helping us to really realize what needs to be done. So you're the future generation. And in addition to that, for some of you, you know the story. But I began this work because of a student. There were actually 3 people, but this student was one of the best I had ever taught. And she had the 2 characteristics of a healer. This is about the healers, too. And her characteristics was she was brilliant. In addition to that, compassion seeped from her bones. So she had those 2 characteristics. I was very excited thinking that she would come and join us in the world that I loved, and that was intensive care, you know, because was my home. And she said to me, because of certain circumstances, she'd never work there. It wasn't a good place to work. And I said, what do you mean by that? She said, it's not good for the patients and it's not good for the staff who work there. Haven't you noticed? And I said, tell me what you mean by that. And she gave me clinical scenario after clinical scenario of what she had witnessed in the real world. And what she did is she brought to me this information. And I can remember when she started to tell me this. And she was telling me about the clinical scenarios that weren't right. They weren't right for the people who work there. They were not right for the patients that we were caring for. And I remember thinking, oh, I hope she didn't see me do that. I actually thought that. And so she said she's not going to work there. And I said, I'd like to challenge you. Because even today, the majority of all of your colleagues still work in acute care. And it isn't what it needs to be. And I'd like you to stay and change it. And we talked about that. And guess what? She believed me. And she stayed. She lasted less than 9 months. And she came and met me at my locker this evening and said, I want you to be the first to know. And I said, know what? She said, I'm leaving. And I said to her, why? I want you to hear what she said to me and how she said it. She literally yelled. A person was walking in the room, backed right out and said, I wasn't coming in there. And listen to what she said. Look at me. Look at me. I am young and I feel old. You told me we could change this place. I've never worked so hard in my life, and I don't think the place can ever be changed. There's too much red tape. There's too much bureaucracy. There's too much, this is how we do it here. For those who are in healthcare, you've heard those words before, I have no doubt. And she looked at me and said, what are you going to do about it? And I actually thought I was doing something about it, so I said, well, I thought I was. And she said, well, don't you understand? That's not the problem. And I said, no, I actually don't. Tell me, what do you think the problem is? And she looks at me and said, you're the problem. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? Listen to her words. You live a lie. I said, what does that mean? She said, you taught me the beauty and essence of care and sent me to a world where nobody can live like that. What are you going to do about it? So all the things that you mentioned were the result of someone having the courage, a student, having the courage to say, this reality isn't what it needs to be. And what are you going to do about it? And that was the beginning of the journey. So I love having students here because you will be taking over this journey. You will lead it to places none of us can vision. And you're going to have courage like that. And so I welcome you to start with that tonight, right? And I wondered, what would really matter tonight to say to you? You have a very diverse group here. We've got people who are every day, 18-hour days, many of them, trying to transform healthcare, working in the CPM Resource Center. You have another group who are out there practicing every day, taking care of this community. And you have some that have no connections at all. But so why is this even important? Well, it's important because all of us in this room know one thing, that the quality of your life is impacted by the quality of your health, right? And this is really what this is about. What are we going to do to assure that we have that available for our people? Did you know we're the only only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't have a healthcare system. Now some of you might think, well, wait a minute. We've got these huge buildings. We've got hospitals and we've got clinics and what do you mean we don't have a healthcare system? We don't. Because you see, having a healthcare system means there is a commitment in the society to care for every human from pre-birth to death and have them have access. So I'm not going to go into all the significant problems within healthcare. All you have to do is turn on CNN. All you have to do is turn on a station. And what's right at the national agenda right now? Healthcare, right? And so there's much to be said about it, but I guess you could summarize it by saying this. It costs too much. We have quality issues. We have safety issues. We know that. We have insurance issues. Have you all felt that? Look at the worry we have within our society on these issues. So we know a bit of that. And just to put it into perspective, this work is going to take all of us. This isn't about any one discipline. It's not, we need everyone to engage. First, own your own health, and then make sure that this community has what it needs. So, as I mentioned, we started in acute care. I'm going to show this next slide. I love this slide. It's funny. We need humor, especially at night. Notice this slide. When you are in deep trouble, say nothing and try to look like you know what you're doing. And by the way, you can tell we've been doing that for years because we still have high costs, we still have inconsistency in quality and safety, right? And so we've got work to do, alrighty? So we got to stop pretending we know what we're doing, and we need to tap the wisdom of every person that sits in our communities and within, of course, the profession. Now you all saw the little fox, right? Doesn't he look good? Yeah. So I thought this might be of interest to you. If the cost of your food rose at the same proportion that the cost of healthcare has during my lifetime, a dozen eggs would be $55, milk would be $48, a dozen oranges would be $134. So what do you know from that? We'd have to do something. We're in trouble. We need to decrease cost. And how are we going to do that? What does it look like? So we're engaged in healthcare transformation, and we've learned a great deal about it. And by the way, the reason it's so hard, it's not about change. It's about transformation. That's the difference between a cocoon and a butterfly. And by the way, you see how different that is. And most people are engaging in that. Seriously, you can go to any setting that offers health care, and they're all struggling. And when we had our dialogue sessions, you have no idea how important the free clinics are, how important the clinics that are out there down in our community. One actually led by the Kirkhoff School of Nursing, serving people who have no other hope, who have no other access. And so guess what they're all doing? They're all trying to change. They're all trying to get better, more efficient, more effective, right? Because they know they have to do that. And so we began our work in acute care, not because acute care should be the center of healthcare. It just is in our world. Because we have been medical model driven. We have the healthcare, actually people think it all sits in the hospitals. And medical care sits in the hospital. Healthcare does not. And so we've got some pretty serious issues that we all have to address. And we will never be able to do this work unless everyone changes. Look what they have to change. Their thinking, the relationships they have every day with the people they work with. We have to have new ways of teaching and practice. And this is major. And that's what we've been engaged in for 30 years, and we're learning tons every day. I wish Max was here. He's local. He's famous. He led a Fortune 500 company. Max DePrey has written bestsellers. And when I brought the vision of what it would look like to have the best places to give and receive care, he stopped me and he said, "You'll never be able to do that unless you first really understand it." And I thought, well, I understand it, and what I understand is not so very good. And he said, no, you have to understand the whole of it. And I thought, pressure. And because he said, that's the first accountability. Now, doesn't that sort of make sense? If you're going to transform something, to have it be what it needs to be, you ought to really know what you got. And it was over these years and learning what we have that really caused me a great deal of concern. And this is what I learned. everybody is engaged in change. And in healthcare right now at the federal level, they have given away billions of dollars for projects to try to improve healthcare. I mean billions. And what we noticed in our work was that although all that money and all that change has been happening, it wasn't sustainable. For example, when we first began, they said it's not safe to go to the hospital, as an example. Well, why? Well, because a lot of errors are made. And so everybody's been paying attention to making it safer, and they have. They're doing good work. However, I just want you to know that we went up for 13% of the people experiencing errors and I guess you could say omission and being put at risk, up to 30% today. So do you see, we have much work to be done. Well, here's what we learned. The majority of people thought, all we have to do is fix these problems. Look at the problems. And by the way, you can go to any place and you can go, I got this problem, and they have all kinds of problems. And we got into addressing problems. We got to get a better flow through ED. We got to give more individualized care. People should know what they're doing around here. So we had all of this going on. But what we figured out, not alone. You're never alone in anything that's really great. We figured out that the majority of issues that haunt healthcare, literally haunt them, are not problems that to be solved. They're polarities and paradoxes that needed to be managed well. And my mentor is in this room. Barry, raise your hand. Barry Johnson, right over here. I call him the father of polarity. Now that would not be such a good name because polarities have existed as long as there's been human beings in life of any nature, and he's not that old. And but what we found out is that the way of thinking that we had was putting us all at risk. Isn't that paradoxical? We're going to fix this problem, fix this problem, fix this problem, but really, long-term wise, we hadn't fixed anything. Nothing really had improved, and we didn't know about paradoxes. So in this work, we have been challenged, just absolutely challenged, to learn new skills. Remember I said it takes new skills. And polarity management was one of those skills. And really in its simplicity, all it is two things, I guess you could say, that are absolutely opposite, competing, and sometimes different, whatever, but they're interdependent. And if you don't address both of them, you can never reach your higher goal. So we had all these people with problems, and they were addressing the problems, but they were missing something. And what we wanted to do is see what they were missing. Now I want to show you a picture, it's sort of fun, and some of you have seen it before. But out loud, when I show the next picture, out loud, tell me what you see. What do you see? Okay? An old woman. Okay? What else do you see? A young girl. And what do you say to the people who see the old woman? You're absolutely right. And what do you say to the people who see the young girl? You're absolutely right. But you're only both half right unless you see them both. And the issues that are haunting us are really like that. And guess what? Some of you might need help. I'm watching you. Now I saw that old lady, but I do not see that young girl. So they both have something in common, don't they? Do you see the hat? Do you see the hair? Okay, let's look at the old woman first. This is her nose, big nose, bump on it, okay? This is her eye, and this is her chin, right? Do you see that? Right here. This is her mouth, this is the chin. Now let's look at the young girl. See if you can see the young girl. Do you see her? Hat, hair. Look how tiny her little nose is right here. That is not her eye, that is her ear. And this is her chin, and this is her necklace. Now do you see it? The point is this. If we're going to change things, we have to know that there's a different skill. And that skill is to see the whole picture. And you're going to need help. Because when you see what you're comfortable with, it's harder to see the rest of it. And so that's really what polarities has taught us, that we have to look at the whole of healthcare. And so I've given you a handout tonight. And in summary, we must continue to solve problems. But the majority of the issues are polarities. Now, when you solve a problem, you say, I'm going to either do this or that. And you solve the problem, you cross it off your list. But when you got a polarity, you have to do both and. You have to address the young girl and the old girl. And you have to have interventions to help it. Now, that's what you call a quick, theoretical, and maybe boring, a little overview. But the fact is that there will be no sustainable change in healthcare unless those who lead it are masters of polarity management. And I thank you, Barry, for that, because we have really become masters of addressing two issues that look opposite, competing, and have learned to reach a goal that neither could reach alone. And how we did that is this handout. So I've given you a handout, not to read now, but I'm hoping that you might look at it later. And what we knew that we had to do is we had to continue to be good at problem solving, but we had to continue to also be good at both and. And what we had to do was to know the whole. I'm going back to Max now. He said, you got to know the whole of healthcare. And what we realized we needed is a whole lot of study and a whole lot of work. And it's really, parts of it are sort of boring. But if we were going to transform the culture and the practice within healthcare, that we needed to be guided by the whole, and we created a framework. And this framework represents the whole in many different ways. And everything we do says, what will it do to the whole? Don't just do another project. And so there's much more that could be said, but I hope you'll look through this, because our success sits in the fact that we are deepening our understanding of the whole. We have a framework, and you know what that framework does? It guides us every day as to the nature of the work we have to do to transform healthcare. Lots of things in here, and that's as far as I'll go with that. But, so this is our framework, and that's the picture of it, and we've intentionally designed, we said we would not be theoretical people and stand up, that we would say, here's the actions that need to be taken if you're going to transform healthcare, and you can't skip a one of them, they're all integrated. So that's what it is, but I'm going to show you now. Tonight I'm going to show you 3 videos. Sometimes videos bring a wisdom that the words just don't do. And you may have seen this video, because it's been around. And what it does is it captures for you, if you are making major changes in your life, in your own personal life, and you don't really look at the whole, you're going to have a whole lot of unintended consequences. So this video shows it best. Go ahead. It's real short. Less things. Exhausted healthcare. Consequences. And we have put millions of dollars into projects and didn't pay attention to the whole. We're surrounded by people who will jump on a project and help because they're good people. We are surrounded by intelligent, committed, caring people willing to help and willing to change things. They don't even know how it's going to make a difference down the road, but they're helping, and he's helping that guy push that car right over that thing. And that's really what our projects do if they're not connected to a framework, a better picture. So we laugh at it. But the reason we laugh so hard in healthcare is we've helped them push the car over that. We know exactly what they're talking about. Now, the second video is going to be a little bit more serious than that particular one. And this one, well, I know it doesn't look real serious, but it is. And what we have learned is if you take a look at one person's story in healthcare, just one, or 2 or 3, but if you take this and narrow it down to one, and you really look at how healthcare impacts their life, you learn universal truths. And so I share stories often about the people we are privileged to serve every day in healthcare. And I'm going to share a story with you tonight. And this story is Terry and Vicky's story. And this is a recent picture, obviously, Halloween, which wasn't that far away. And they enjoy life and they party, and this is Terry and Vicky. You'll get to know a little bit more about them. So that's today. So you're almost seeing the end of the story I'm going to share with you. But I want to move you back in time. This is even further back in time. This is when their first son was born 18 years ago. This was a young couple who understood health. They exercised, they took care of themselves, they ate well, they bore their children, they get them immunized, they get them help, they care for them. This is a healthy young couple. And then one day, their whole life changed. And they were in a car accident. Their lives would never be the same again. And guess what? We come into the picture now. This is why our work is so important. Because I want you to think about what it would mean for you to one day to have that happen to you or someone you love. And who are you going to count on at that time? You're going to count on the healthcare system, right? And this is what happened to Terry and Vicki. They were the typical what we call trauma patients. They come into the ED, they have multiple injuries, and their lungs are collapsed, they need to be ventilated, they have many issues. But in the end, where the story sits for the rest of their lives, Terry has severe head injuries, and Vicki will be paraplegic. And by the way, Terry was given a 1% chance of survival at the time of his admission in that early phases of life. And so when you look at one story, you see all the stories, and it tells you what the nature of the work is for us who are privileged. And the question I would like to ask of you, what do you hope for them? What would you want for anyone, yourself, your family, and your friends? And here's the truth. We've been following Terry and Vicki's story. It's been 10 years since that accident. And we bring patients to teach us, what do we need to know to make it better? And teach us. Tell us what we do that's good and tell us what we do that's not so good. And they have personally experienced what you would call the best of care and the worst of care along this journey. And so you're going to see a video. I'm going to bring you a video of this journey. And it's only 5 minutes long. But I'm going to first prepare you for that and give you a little information because it all relates to the nature of the work we had to do in order to have it be the best place for them to come and the best place for anybody who's going to be taking care of them. What would it look like? What do we need to think about? Les, I just pushed this and nothing happened because my screen, there you go. Thank you.
I expect you to want to help.
Could you hold that off and start it from the beginning again? What I did, and about 8 years after the accident, I go with a video because we're making a video, and we're going to follow Vicki and Terry for the rest of their lives, as long as one of us or the other is living. And so because every time we meet, we learn something new, and we have that longevity, because you know what? Health is about what? From pre-birth to death. And so we knew we needed to learn as they went through life and to engage us in that learning. And so it was 8 years after the accident. I went to the house with the camera, a video camera, and we got talking, and I asked her a question I'd never asked her. And by the way, if you talk with her, she sounds like one of us. She's got her lingo down pat. Well, she's been 8 years in our school of healthcare. And so she sounds like us, she talks like us in so many different ways. And I said to her, I never asked her, I said, what do you expect from us? And and the cameras are rolling, and she started to say, I expect. And after everything she expected, she gave example after example why it was important, what she'd experienced, both positive and negative. But I can't show you all that. But what I am going to show you is, and I had to cut and splice, obviously, to splice it, you're going to see her top 6 things she expected from healthcare. And ask yourself, would you expect these? So now, last things. Go ahead.
I expect you to want to help and care for me. I expect you to not treat me as a burden or a problem. I expect you to know what you're doing, to know the best of approaches no matter what profession you're in. I expect the whole team to work together, to communicate with each other, and to know what each other is thinking and doing. I expect that in this high-tech world that my chart would be accessible, readable, and usable to all the players in the team, and to have it accessible to me. I expect to be a part of my care, a part of every decision that is made, and treated as an active partner in that care, and actually regarded and listened to.
Okay, do you think that anything she asked for, I've moved it ahead, Les, anything she's asked for is unreasonable? Now, notice people say no. Here's the important question. Do you think that is the kind of care she got in the 10 hospitals, the hundreds of care providers that gave her. Do you think that's the kind of care she got? Now notice the heads in the room naturally shaking no. And especially I noticed those who are in the healthcare system. What she said to me that really sort of imprinted on my heart was, she came to know what to expect because of what she had hoped for. And that sometimes it's in the absence of that that you come to know it's important. So she came to teach us. And I want to just review them quickly. I just looked at my watch and I'm trying not to panic. Okay? This is quite serious. And we have another little video to go, so I'm going to talk fast now. Are you listening? Because I got to move here a little bit. Okay? And so let's just take it through each of her requests. Would you think you'd want to people should want to care for them? And that not be seen as a burden? Do you know what it's like to be a healer and come to work, you don't have your supplies, you don't have your tools, you don't have enough help, and you're exhausted and you're working a double shift? It's really hard to care. So we knew right away that we had to really address some pretty issues. Look at this statement. The world, more especially this hospital world, is in such a hurry. It's moving so fast. It's too easy to slide into bad habits before we are aware. But notice who said it. 150 years ago, Florence tried to warn us we were on the wrong path, but it took us quite a long time to realize that our tasks and rituals and routines were really interfering with us being able to give the kind of care that we wanted. We knew we needed to do something about culture, and our team that's here tonight has really worked on what do we need to do to create healthy cultures for the healers, because if they don't have one, how are they going to care for other people? So that's some of the nature of our work. And by the way, in every place I've ever been, I've been surrounded by committed, intelligent, caring people. It's not about the people. It's about the systems and the lack of tools and resources. She also said that she expects that we know what you are doing. Well, that's pretty good. And and the best approaches. Wouldn't you think that would be the norm? But it really is not. We have inconsistencies and variability all over the place. We really actually didn't know how to do that. And so wouldn't you think every person would be competent? We didn't have what they needed to be competent. Do you know what it takes to be competent today in healthcare? That means to really know what's going on. You would have to, depending on your specialty, according to the literature, read. So Tyler, have you read 100 articles every day before you go to bed? And because that's what it would take. There's been 1 million articles in the last year. And who can do that? So you know what we thought? Hey, we could do something about that. And that we would help them to be competent and give them the tools and resources at their fingertips that they needed to do to keep people safe and to stop the inconsistencies of care, because it's really significant. This was Vicki after she was transferred out of ICU. What it means is if you walk in the room to take care of her, you better know what you are there for, and you better know what she's at risk for, and you got to keep her safe. Look what you'd have to know. Just if all you knew was she had a spinal cord injury, she's at risk for 16 common complications, and you better know the signs and symptoms. You better know what to do to prevent them, and you better make sure that that's really happening. Do you know what we need to know? And guess what? We never had the tools and resources, so we created them at the CPM Resource Center. And not only do we create them, we put them and embedded them into the electronic record so they could have them at their fingertips. There's so much to know. And somebody needed help, and we never had those tools. If you took care of Terry on the same day, you'd have to know he has 52 common complications. Look at what that means. So we created tools and resources. We said, what is your scope? By the way, what a doctor does is different from a nurse. What a nurse does is different from social work or PT, the chaplains. We have a whole team. None of us can know what each of us know, but we have to come together because the patients today need us to do that. Then she expects that the whole team would work together to communicate with each other and to know what each other is thinking and doing. Well, Lord in heaven, we hardly have time to communicate. And guess what? We are all educated in silos. So we come, we all do our thing. The respiratory does, the PT does, the OT does. But we really don't know how to communicate with one another. So we took it upon ourselves to say, what do we do to have these meaningful conversations? Because what are you thinking? What am I thinking? And that's really what Gordon Van Otteren and I did when we were, what are you thinking? What am I thinking? Well, I don't think like that. How come you think like that? And what do we need to do better? And you have to do that with every other team person. And of course, it would make sense that you would know what they do. Oh, I just threw this in because I love this slide. Can you read it? Winner of Not My Job Award. So you know what? Hey, I am really busy. And You pick up the possum. I just put the stripes down. And so what happened is we got so busy, we didn't know how to communicate. We didn't really know how to do the things right. So we created infrastructures to bring the teams, interdisciplinary teams together. We said you can't take care of a Vicki and Terry unless you have a plan. Oh, we hate plans of care. But the fact is we created a plan that actually worked and said, all of you, I don't care what your role is, what your discipline is, you must come together to create a plan that's unique to them because they deserve that kind of care. And then the next one says, she said, in this high-tech world, which we are living in a high-tech world, my chart would be accessible, readable, and usable to all the players on the team and to me. Well, that put everybody in a tizzy. Because number one, we can't find anything in the charts. Well, now we have the opportunity. So you know what we did? We said we got to offset our humanness and we got to create technology to help us to remain human. It has to be intentionally designed so that we can say, when we walk in the room, I know Vicki's story, I know Terry's story. And by the way, I don't chart here and you chart there and you chart. We have an interdisciplinary place to come together and technology offers us that. And the fact she wanted access, people go, I don't think we can do that. Yes, you can. It is your chart, your body. You make sure that what's there is okay and you ask for it. And so that's why technology is going to help. It's going to give you your own portal. You're going to be able to get into it. These are the things we knew we needed to do in order to reach the very expectations that she spontaneously said to us. So that technology is where we have really created great resources for people to live in a different way. We actually created an integrated, evidence-based, interdisciplinary documentation system, the first of its kind in the world. Embedded the evidence so they didn't have to run all over and look for it. And although it's not what it needs to be, it's better than anything we've had. And by the way, students, I expect you to make it better than it is right now. So get to work on that. And the last thing, she said, to be part of my care and part of every decision that is made and treated as an active partner. You know what we did? We came in and said, this is what you're going to do. You know, I've taken care of 1,000 acute myocardial infarcts. Listen up. And we never listened to their story. We didn't know their story. We didn't engage them in that. What do you think needs to be done here? And we lost our ability to have partnerships. We actually thought we were the bosses over everybody. And so now we say, what is it? We're here to serve you. And what is it that you need from us? This is what we need from you. It always goes two ways. And so we develop the partnerships. And so now what I'm going to do, we have a whole lot of work that we've done in transforming healthcare. But I'm going to now share with you their story in the video. Now before I share it with you, I want to tell you why we created the video. I was discouraged. Have you ever been discouraged in your job and thought, Lord in heaven, we're working day and night, does it really matter? Have you ever gone there? And I remember thinking, I need help. So I always seek help from other people who know a whole lot more. And it was actually a very famous person that really helped me in his management style. And I said, what we're trying to do is transform healthcare. Well, guess what that means? Every person who works in healthcare has to change their behaviors. Oh, now this is serious. Because everybody believes you need to change your behaviors. I'm pretty much on target. And so we had to create ways to help them to know how to change their behaviors. And this is what he said. No human changes their behavior unless they value the behavior. All you have to do is get them to value all these behaviors you talked about. It seemed simple at the time. But then I said, well, how do you touch? How do you touch the valuing domain? He said, I think you'll figure that out. I literally studied. I have read more stuff on that. And here's what I learned. That example, do you know anybody who smokes can tell you every reason why they shouldn't smoke, can tell you what kind of cancer they're going to die from because they smoke, and they still smoke. Do you know anybody like that? Did you know all humans learn in three ways? Learn cognitively, affectively, value, and psychomotor. What do we hit in education? Cognitive, psychomotor. But if they don't value it, and do you know what the universal way to touch the affective domain of a human is, according to the literature? It's music. Have you all figured that out? How many of you have heard a song that brought you back to a moment in time right here? And you remember what that was? That was your affective domain. So no fool am I. I'm using that literature and I'm going to put their story to music. And so I had to have permission to show it. And so I went to Vicki and Terry and asked for permission. They said yes. I told them what we're going to do, clips down, put it to music. This is when you know you want to know Vicki, and you'll get a chance in a minute. She said, yeah, you can show my story, but I picked the music, the most powerful part of it. And I said, that would be great. So you're going to see that video. But one of the things she said to me, before you show it, I want you to dedicate it to those who have given their life to healthcare. Let them know how important what it is that they do, because I never knew what they did until I needed them desperately. It's dedicated to them. And it represents, the song represents my philosophy of life. Good, great song, as you'll know it when you hear it. But then she said, but Bonnie, you need to tell them the truth. And I said, well, what's the truth? Tell them I know what it's like to lay in a bed and have someone walk in whose eyes are glazed over and they don't even see me. You see, they weren't in a culture that helped them to live what brought them there in the first place. Tell them I know what it's like to long to have some really meaningful conversation, and they don't have time, or they don't know how, because they've become so task-driven. Tell them I know what it's like to have someone who didn't know the latest evidence, and they put my life at risk, and she can give you the scenario. Tell them I know what it's like to have people talk over me and not engage with me in partnership. And tell them they gotta get my chart automated. And I thought that was so funny. They've got my bill automated. I don't know why they can't get my chart. And when people leave my room who I've never met and say, I'm gonna just check your chart, I don't know if I should laugh or cry. It's as big as 2 telephone books in Detroit. And it's filled with all kinds of inaccuracy. I don't know who put the stuff in there or what it's about. And tell them that you can't imagine what it's like to have somebody care for you who has given you hope through the sacredness of their words, through the deeds that they've done while they've cared for you. And you know that it's worth fighting to live. And the next person comes in the room and you start all over again. So you see, we have work to do, and those were the tips that she gave us. And by the way, that's the work of the CPM Resource Center. So sit back, listen, and one of the things she said, listen closely to the words, really closely to the words. Go ahead, Les. and should be. Their lives were instantly changed, and guess what? We were privileged to be invited into their life. And some might think, wow, you did a good job. You have to know that they have been a gift to us. Now, one thing that's different about tonight than any other session that I've given is usually I give the talk, but they're not here. Tonight, Vicky's here. Now, Terry would be here, but he had a preventive treatment done, which was really good, right? And so that's why he's not here, and he's really upset that he's not here. And, but did you hear her message? I'm going to go over and get this a minute. She asked us, and students, this is a really important message for you. Did you hear her words? I hope you never lose this sense of wonder. It is awesome. Healthcare is awesome. It needs help right now. And we need you to lead us to the next generation so that no matter where they would go, no matter which of the 10 hospitals, I should never have done that, the 10 hospitals they would choose to go to, the hundreds of people that have cared for them, it wouldn't matter where, that they would get the kind of care that she expected. That's all. And that's really what tonight is, and that's really the work we do at the center. I'd like to introduce to you Vicki. She is our mentor. She's my mentor. And isn't it joyful what it is? And look where they are today. Still needing health care, by the way. And real. Still in Grand Rapids? Yeah. Anything that you would like to pass on? I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
No,
but
I thank you all for what you do, and for, I don't know, I'm speechless, but you all are why I'm here today, and for all you students coming forth, and all of you that are pioneering forward to make change. It does matter. I hope you never lose your sense of wonder, because what you all do is amazing.
And I like the song for another reason. Because she has given everybody in this room a choice. You can either sit it out or you can dance. And what we've learned over the last 30 years of this work, we need all of you to dance. And if you want to volunteer, come here and sign up, okay? It's been good being with you, and now we're going to open it up for questions. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm late. Gone over a little bit. But we are here to stay if you are. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts that you might have? We have a mic over here and a mic over there, right, Jeff? And they're open. Yes?
I've been an RN for 39 years.
Yes.
I'm a little verklempt right now.
Uh-huh. It's quite emotional. It's quite...
I worked spinal cord injury for a long time. I'm very impressed with what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
I work with chronic pain patients, so it's quite an endeavor that you're doing right now.
Yeah. And thank you for, is it 32?
39.
39 years. Thank you for 39 years of service. And no one doubts that it's such important work. But sometimes we get so engrossed in the middle of our days, we forget. And we need to remind one another. We need each other desperately to remain human. Thank you for your work. Yeah. What other comments, thoughts, questions? It's sort of hard. Have you noticed sort of hard after that video? That now that I think about it, that video is very touching. But the reason I wanted you to see the video and wanted you to meet Vicki, this is about us. This is real. This is where we are. This is where we're faced to doing the work. And I wanted it to be real for you. And there's a celebration here. And much work still to be done. That's all. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, or Thoughts? Yes.
You mentioned volunteering. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering what kind of work how can I help?
Okay, are you Marge? No, what is your name?
I'm Janae Chestick. I'm sorry, I'm still crying a little bit.
That's okay. So are you a student? You're a student. Okay. See this woman here? This is my partner. And you go connect with her, and that is the beginning. The first thing you do as a volunteer is your own work. Make yourself strong. Keep yourself healthy. Remember, this is Gandhi, every change you want to see in the world, it starts with you. You make it in yourself. So you are in this learning curve. You are a student. And you need to tap the wisdom of the faculty and your peers, the people you are out in your clinicals with, to get you the strength you need so you can do this work, because it's really important. So that's the first place you do. You focus there, and then you reach out to bring that spirit to all those that you work with every day.
What if she's not a nurse?
Oh, that's a great question, because I think sometimes people think it's all about nursing, and it's not. What's your profession? What's your profession?
Health communications.
Oh, well, health communications. We can use help with that, as you already saw. That was one of her second requests, right? Yeah, second request, because it's as simple as it might seem. The communication, we became social in our conversations in the real world. I would talk to you about your family, your vacation and whatnot, but what about those real hard issues that we need to talk with one another to better take care of patients? And then, not only that, we had to deepen our ability to deal with hard times. And Vicki said it best in front of 700 people one day. She said, everybody in here needs to be accountable to the sacredness of your words. What you say can take away all my energy, and she has all kinds of examples, or you can give me hope when I have none. Your words are sacred. And we've learned that from many of the patients. So you're right in the right place. We need to do that together. We must bring our disciplines together when they are being educated, because all of us in this room are healthcare providers. All of us. You will be taking care of someone in your family, right? And you will need health care. And we need the expertise of those disciplines. So come join us. Yeah. Yes, Kevin.
I'd like to give her an idea.
Great.
She can see Cynthia about, we need all the volunteers that we possibly can, and the work with we're doing with the Wesorick Center for Healthcare Transformation. So Cynthia is your contact there, and we're older, I'm older, and I need folks like you who are really good at communication to help me spread the word. Every day's a miracle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Any other questions, comments, or thoughts? Yes.
Now that I can talk.
Yes. Okay.
Are you working, one of the things in our office is that we do work in a multidisciplinary clinic, and one of the things that we've learned is that what we say to the patients is some of the most important things.
Yes.
That the communication tool is most important, and some of the experiences the patients have is just at the front desk.
Yes.
You know, coming into the office is of utmost importance to our clinic. And so people need to recognize that just coming into the building can frighten a patient. Today, for example, we had an 88-year-old lady come in with a fractured pelvis who lived in Grand Haven, who had multiple other medical problems. And you're talking about, you know, patient-centered and all this, who's gonna monitor this lady who lives alone, who's now in a nursing home because she has a fractured pelvis with 6 other chronic medical problems. And we're starting her on Neurontin, morphine. We're doing an epidural injection, and she's at a nursing home that she just went to a week ago. And they're not helping her up during the night. And so we had to make out a list of all the things we were doing, all the things that we needed them to stop. They were giving her enemas. She's had multiple colectomies, and I'm saying, okay, we're not gonna, now I'm the pain nurse, but I'm telling her what I don't want them to do. And the PCP's kind of out of the situation because she's now at a nursing home and they're running the show. So nursing home, one of the areas that I think
we have a big need for that we see in the chronic pain practice is the nursing homes.
Yeah.
There is a major disconnect with the patients that are in nursing homes, especially those that are getting intermittent care that maybe are deconditioned and coming in to a nursing home and then going back home again. What we see is it's intense.
Okay, now I don't want you all to get discouraged, but the fact of the matter is, in fact, all of you who are in this baby boomer age, we're talking about you and I now.
Yeah.
We're talking about the needs of the elderly, the honoring of the elderly. Health is about pre-birth to death, right? And we'll never be able to achieve that unless we have partnerships with one another across all the diverse places, with the clinic, with the ambulatory, with the hospice, with the home, with the school nurses. And notice she has brought you a reality based around the medical model. What could we have done to prevent the fall that fractured the hips and fractures the pelvis? What could we have done differently? We've been in a medical model. We must be in a health model. We've got to go to prevention. We've got to go to the care of the humans from all levels. We have much work to be done, but her hope is that you will connect with the next care providers. That's one of the reasons why we went into technology. It sounds like a paradox, but the technology allows us to communicate across the continuum. Well, only if the technology is designed right, and most of it really isn't. But to be honest with you, and it's got all kinds of loopholes, but we're working on that. And someday, even in the healthcare system, that's why $19 billion has been put out there to see if we can actually create a technological connection. And what our great work that we're bringing is you can do the technological interoperability, but she presented to the nation the practice interoperability, the care of the patient across. And so they go, what does that word mean anyway? But the fact is, you bring a point. None of the work we do is about acute care. That's where we began. It's about all care.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that,
So
and it
my
puts us
goal
into it.
tomorrow, I'm going to call the nursing home to see what they've done
Absolutely.
with the information I've given them.
Yes.
Because hopefully they've followed through on everything.
And thank God that patient has you in their life. And what about those who don't? Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Or are you going for the dessert? Oh, yes, right back there. Dessert's out there.
I have a question. What
Yes.
advice would you give for nursing students that are just starting off in the program?
Oh, well, oh boy. We don't have enough time, but I would say this. Know your passion. Just know that what you are doing, and be clear about your scope of practice. Start there. Be clear about your accountability, because it's different than every other profession, right? And then what you need to do is to, always establish yourself with people around you to be your partners on that journey. Don't ever go alone. It's just a little scary. And just as it is scary for the patients, it's really scary for you as well. And learn as much as you can. Always be a continuous learner. And get to know technology really well. And make sure that you lead it so that it helps us to remain human. Okay? Yeah. Any other? Yes? Okay, go ahead. Oh, hi.
I haven't seen you in a long time. Bonnie has been such an inspiration to me, and it started with her hope in her teaching me what really professional nursing was. And she believed in me, and it was through Kathy and Bonnie. We went on to write nursing diagnoses, and we went on to change scope of practice in NICU, and that was years ago. And now I'm retired from that, the healthcare center, but I'm working with Down syndrome children, and I'm working with other children in the community, and working with, and the human response in what we're looking for, and what the scope of practice, and what nursing diagnoses can do for us as nurses. And currently right now, one of the professors at Grand Valley and I and a professor from Edinburgh are developing a new nursing diagnosis, Suze Malarczyk.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much. Remember I said this was the most important group I've been with? Now you just met another person that's really important. And by the way, her work with the evidence-based guidelines has influenced thousands of people who are giving the care and millions of the little ones. Yeah, I'm so thankful for that. Thank you. Yes.
My question is, you as educator, and my wife brought me here tonight.
Well, thank you.
I'm not in the healthcare business. I worked in the medical device industry for 20 years, orthopedic implants. But recently I've become aware of compassion fatigue. And I'm wondering what we do to provide a realistic job preview and help our students understand the preventative side of healthcare on themselves to combat compassion fatigue.
So interesting you bring it up. We had conversations twice today on compassion fatigue, and I was with a person who came to the dialogue. She's not here tonight, but she walked into our dialogue, and she has influenced thousands of patients, and she's in a free clinic for the uninsured. And when she walked into the room, her energy level was so low, and I wondered if she was not well. And during the conversation, she said, I have compassion fatigue. And you see, unless that one slide was really quickly passed by, but unless we are in a culture of healing as individual healers, we cannot help the others heal. So we know that you have to be in a culture where everybody is deeply respected, that their scope is honored, that they're given what they need to practice it, and they must have an infrastructure to bring them together in partnership, because without it they stay alone. We've looked at the difference between a healthy culture and an unhealthy culture, and I can tell you, I'll share with you the definition of culture, because everybody talks about the culture. It's really important. And I share with you my definition, not to accept, but to think about. Because everybody said, culture is invisible, but powerful, and you can feel it. Have you ever walked into a home and you knew it was a healthy, healing home, and have you ever walked into a home where you felt the stress? Same thing is true up in the clinical areas as well. And so the question is, what do you think you're feeling? And I believe that culture is the presence of the unseen souls of the many who are walking by you. And what we see in a healthy culture is, and the difference between a healthy and an unhealthy culture is not how busy they are. We always are sure that's it. Or if you knew the person I work with, you'd know why I'm so stressed. I mean, they'll say things like that. But that isn't it at all. It isn't about how busy, the time, etc. In a healthy culture, the souls are connected. And that's where humans connect. That's where your greatest authenticity sits. That's where all your capacity sits. And humans connect with each other at the soul level. So you must create cultures where that's an expectation, and they have the infrastructures and tools and resources to make that a part of their day, a conversation of the day. Without it, we just won't achieve it. And you need to create medical devices that make our work easy. Okay? Just a little pressure.
20 years ago, it's been a while since I worked in medical device, but I worked in a project where we created a manufacturing environment where all these machinists came together solely to manufacture orthopedic instrumentation. One of the first things that we did in creating this manufacturing department was to have them go through some basic anatomy classes. And we also had them meet with surgeons and with patients.
That was very good.
Many of these employees came up with patented ideas. They were brought a device, they were told what it was supposed to do, and they, because of their practical knowledge of working with hand tools, they came up with better surgical instruments. And that was because they were involved, and they knew what their job was, how they were going to be involved with the patient, with the physician, what they needed, and they were happy to do it.
And you connected them with something of great meaning, and that's what we all need in our work, that we know what matters, and we have a common shared purpose, and together We don't even know what we have the potential for yet. But well, none of it will happen without partnerships. And so that's the nature of the work that we really needed to invest in very early in our work. Thank you for sharing that. I'm really aware of the time. Yes, Dan.
How is it that we are, as a nation, we know so much that we could do to be preventative? And now we have in schools pop machines. We have kids that go through lunch and they have 2 or 3 chocolate chip cookies and a Coke and French fries. And they've taken so many of these things that are healthy, and we know because of the overweight society and what's being done about it.
Yeah.
Almost nothing. And it's because everyone's so afraid to address the issue politically. They can't answer the tough questions. We should be taking this stuff out of schools. When I went to school, we had Army surplus food.
Yeah. That's why he went to be the guard.
We had lima beans and stuff like that.
Probably wouldn't be real popular today, but you got a point.
It wasn't real popular then.
So what are we faced with? You see, and I don't want you to be misled by my comments. We started in acute care because people actually thought that was the healthcare system. It is not. And what happened is we became a treatment curable, and we needed to be a what? Preventative and healthy. And we are novices at that process. The good news is we have a First Lady who is understanding that and is doing everything she can to bring attention to it. You need people like our First Lady who says, wait a minute, what are we doing about this, and what do we need to change? And don't get engaged in all the political crap, because it will slow us down and we'll never get anywhere. And we need people of courage. Remember I said, the reason this audience was so important tonight is because I'm surrounded by people who had the courage to make these hard decisions within the environment they were working with every day. We have many more places we need to do this. Schools are making transitions. They are moving the pop machines out. They're just not doing it everywhere, right? And then guess what? They don't have, the children go home and they don't have food when they get home. So you know the gift baskets is one of them, I don't know if I got the name right, here in our community, who sends home, not just brings them lunches, healthy lunches, gives them a bag to take home. And I just got a little note from a little one who said, thank you, because sometimes I go home and there's no food. This is healthcare. And this is why, whether you're in social, philosophical, whether you're a dietitian, it doesn't matter where you work, you will need to help us in healthcare. This is all of our issues. And there are fundamental principles that are just never going to go away. We just are not strong and preventive. And by the way, they're cutting preventive healthcare funds. They just cut our extended care funds. So, do we have problems? Yes. But do we have hope? Yeah, look around. It's just all around you. And this is a good time for us now to move. This is a good time for health care because it's so bad. Everybody knows it, and we're going to get on it, okay? So get on it. All right, we need to close, I know. Thank you. Thank you.